The tension at the Italian Grand Prix reached a boiling point when a major drama rocked Ferrari. A frustrated Lewis Hamilton lost his cool and vented over the team radio, further heating up the atmosphere inside the Red Garage. Even more shocking was Fred Vasseur's confession that seemed to expose Ferrari's internal problems. Could this be the beginning of a crisis the legendary team can no longer hide? Let's discuss it. The 2025 Italian Grand Prix was dignified. The two red cars crossed the finish line in the top 5, accompanied by the roar of the tifosi filling the stands. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc battled hard for 53 laps, conquering Monza's legendary corners in their SF25S. It seemed like a weekend of resilience, a sign that Ferrari could still compete with McLaren and Red Bull. However, behind the scenes, the reality was far bleaker. The outcome of this race wasn't determined by sector data or lap times, but rather by Lewis Hamilton's radio silence during critical laps. Hamilton is typically known as a driver who never stays silent on the radio. At Mercedes, he earned a reputation as the third eye on the pit wall by providing real-time feedback on tyre degradation, undercut opportunities, and strategy alerts. His radio communication was a secret weapon that often changed the course of a race, and was even a crucial factor in victory. But at Monza, starting on lap 41, Hamilton remained silent. There were no complaints about graining, no questions about strategy, and no analysis of the opponent's pace. Everyone on the Ferrari pit wall was shocked. The 7-time world champion, who was usually full of instructions, was now letting the race go on without a word. The silence wasn't a sign of surrender. It was a message. It was a protest louder than anger. Silence is never neutral, said one paddock analyst. It can mean submission or resistance. Hamilton is not the type to submit. At Monza, Hamilton's silence felt like a political statement on the track. He wasn't just refusing to speak. He was shaking the foundations of Ferrari's internal communication. In a world where every word on the radio could determine the outcome, Hamilton's silence became the most powerful weapon. At first glance, Ferrari's results at Monza were encouraging. Both cars finished in front of their home crowd, and, numerically, they weren't far off the podium. However, the data revealed a different story, a harsh reality that couldn't be masked by the fans' cheers. At Lesmo 1, Hamilton only reached 187 km per h, while Lando Norris's McLaren reached 195 km per h. That 8 km/h difference may seem insignificant, but multiplied over 53 laps, it equaled a loss of nearly 22 seconds for Ferrari. These figures were no coincidence, but rather a reflection of underlying problems with the car. Telemetry revealed something ironic. Hamilton performed brilliantly. His steering inputs were smooth, the load on his tyres was lighter than Leclerc's, and his driving style was efficient and precise. All indicators pointed to the problem being with the car itself, not the driver. The SF25 exhibited signs of instability when the fuel load was reduced. The overly aggressive rear suspension, which was originally designed to provide extra agility, made the car nervous in medium-speed corners instead. Coupled with inconsistent aerodynamic options, Ferrari lost its technical footing. As a result, the drivers lost confidence. The tyres wore out more quickly, and dreams of podium finishes on home soil vanished. All that remained were data records that only served to deepen the wounds. Within the team, Hamilton's silence exposed old wounds. He arrived as a 7-time world champion and a reformer who demanded change. He was accustomed to a fast-paced and efficient organisation. In contrast, there was Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's golden boy, raised through the academy and a symbol of tradition and tifosi loyalty. Since 2019, Leclerc has shouldered Ferrari's burden, delivering brilliant pole positions, the occasional win, and enduring countless strategic failures. He has always been loyal and has consistently defended the team in front of the media. At Monza, he stuck to his usual line: "We're working hard, we're making progress." But to insiders, that wasn't a sign of patience anymore. It was a sign of fatigue. Comparisons were inevitable. Leclerc defended, Hamilton questioned. From there, the internal conflict began to emerge. Who would be the voice of Ferrari in the future? Frustration truly peaked on lap 23. At that point, Hamilton was in the perfect position to undercut George Russell. The strategic window was wide open, a golden opportunity. If he was still at Mercedes, the decision would have been made without hesitation. But at Ferrari, the hesitation returned. The pit wall took too long to consider the options, and momentum was lost. Hamilton finally pitted a lap too late. The hard tyres he was using lost their grip completely, and by the time he returned to the track, he was 5 seconds behind Russell. His overtaking opportunity and chance of a podium finish at Monza had vanished. Hamilton's post-race comments were cool and matter-of-fact. We should have tried the undercut. There were no angry shouts or outbursts, just a simple sentence that was more poignant than harsh criticism. It was a subtle, yet sharp reminder that Ferrari is still far from the strategic execution standard that Mercedes has long upheld. Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur finally addressed Lewis Hamilton's radio silence at Monza, which drew significant attention. Vasseur acknowledged that the moment was unusual and that the team should take note of it. I've worked with many drivers, but Lewis's silence on the radio is significant. It's not that he's giving up, it's a message. We at Ferrari can't turn a blind eye, he told the media in the paddock. Vasseur emphasised that Hamilton has very high standards shaped by his extensive experience with Mercedes. If Hamilton chooses to remain silent, it means there's something significant that needs to be addressed. Lewis usually talks a lot during races, analysing the situation faster than the data. So when he stays silent, it makes us all think. He wants us to realise that there's a fundamental problem that needs to be addressed immediately. Monza opens a new chapter in the Ferrari drama. On one side is Hamilton, demanding reform and pushing for the team to act quickly and transparently. On the other hand, Leclerc remains committed to tradition and the loyalty of the tifosi, or fans. Ferrari's history shows this cycle repeating itself. The Schumacher era succeeded thanks to Ross Brawn and Jean Tot's disciplined structure. The Alonso era, however, failed due to internal politics that hindered change. Now, Hamilton is forcing Ferrari to choose again, change or fall back into a trap. The situation is made even more crucial by the fact that all this is happening right on the brink of the new 2026 F1 regulations. Ferrari's new car project isn't just another evolution. It's their biggest bet in 2 decades to regain their glory. Many have suggested that Hamilton has already begun influencing the initial design of the 2026 car. With his wealth of experience from Mercedes, a team renowned for its technical precision and efficiency, Hamilton is believed to be infusing his philosophy into the heart of the Ferrari project. The 2025 Italian Grand Prix won't be remembered for its lap times or the cheers of the tifosi. It will be remembered for Lewis Hamilton's silence. It was a silence that sent a message louder than any open protest. Will Ferrari be brave enough to let Hamilton reshape their identity? Or will they fall back into the same cycle of failure? Share your thoughts below.